Hey guys, here we go into a video. We're going to be looking at Frolov and his leaping left hook into right hand or jab into left hook motion and how he kind of teaches it. And we're going to be talking about some parallels with Fouts boxing and how I teach boxing and this really interesting pendulum style. So here, what he's trying to teach is that kind of pendulum jab, right, or the pendulum cross. And he's going to be talking about using this kind of wide, arcing, swinging motion with his arm, right? And what that's an attempt to do is to get from the kind of neutral boxing stance, right? If you're in just a regular boxing stance here, right? In order to get power into that shot here, he's trying to show her to wing his arm in this manner, okay? So you're going to be here and you're going to be winging it, right? And what's going to happen is from this position, you wing it. You're kind of slipping to the front foot and then coming back onto the line. So you're going from this neutral position with this winging motion. You're coming out off the line onto the line, right? And you're trying to create this motion where you're going to slightly move into the line and then off of the line. It's kind of his version or like the pendulum version of like positions, right? And it's not so different from like just regular American boxing, where we're like one position, two position, right? Or we can be here, slip, slip, right? Where they're already trying to fight in a way that melds two weight transitions together at one time, right? Whereas American boxing is more strict, one slip, two slip, right? There's not a lot of the pendulum aspect, right? As my American coaches are taught or teach, right? So that's kind of what's going on here is he's trying to blend those motions into one, but it's because of the fact that he starts from a neutral position on the line with his students. Now, I also want to say, I don't know a lot about his student, so here he is telling her really to, when he throws that shot, turn it over, right? So look at how that motion goes, boom, and now watch as he turns that punch over, right? It forces her more to the back half of her line, okay? So what happens when the shot comes, boom, she goes from the front foot here, bop. So back foot, neutral, front foot, neutral, and now she's neutral, and he starts turning her punch over, right? And this pushes her more to the back half of her line here, right? So what he's trying to show her is in order to get power into this technique, right? Because you're here, right? And you're going right? And you're kind of leaping forward. You're getting that. I'm not that great at it. I don't practice this because anyway, we're going to go over the Mighty Mouse version after when I coach him. But he tells her to slip the line here, watch the target, and you're going to leap into it, right? But he's trying to tell her to get her weight to the back foot. So again, the core motion is still going to be slip, neutral, boom, but boom, back, right? Boom, whack, right? Boom. And then you can move into the right hand, right? But it's a penduluming shot where you're kind of, and now also they teach there's more like straight punches too, right? Because you're getting all that extension, right? But boom, into the pendulum right hand is where they're going to go. But some of the key aspects, right? And the differences in what he's trying to teach, because so much of the core is the same, right? You're going to throw that punch. You're going to start that punch from one side of the line, right? He's creating and teaching her that motion with this, right? With this motion that drags her weight outside of the line, inside of the line, turn it over, right? Boom, 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 right? Boom, boom, boom. And he's teaching her this core motion, wow, so that she can learn to drag her weight from here to here into this pendulum, but then also pendulum forward so she can still get power into that shot, right? Without having to move completely out of range to land it, right? As you go from your front half of your line to the back half of your line kind of thing. So the really big arcing motion, but again, not a lot of emphasis on being in either position 1 or position 2, right? Let's see. So here's, I think, where he told her to keep her eye on the target and then to move to the inside of the target, right? To slip to the inside or something, right? And that's moving the weight to the front foot, right? Right? Watch her dip here. See the slight dip? And then crossing the line and bringing your weight back into that punch, right? Now, a few of the things that happen, right? Because she's learning this motion. And now, like, here's the interesting thing, right? I don't know if she's going to understand that this idea, right, extrapolates to all punches, right? That's a very important idea because you want to teach that with your basic striking too, right? That your punches come from these specific zones, move into these specific zones, whatever. But if you don't teach it like that, that's what's going on, I'm not sure that it translates, right, to that core motion, that core knowledge of what fundamentals of boxing really are, right? Let's see, how do you want to say this? Anyway, moving on. Another thing that's in here, and as we continue moving forward, so the jumping part, right? So watch her head position now, right? Look at how much more deep into position one she is. This leg is bent. There's obvious weight here. You can see that one thing that he hasn't told her, right, is bringing her shoulder forward, right, which is going to allow her to get more weight into that punch as the shoulders rotate, right? So again, and we're going to go over the when I teach Mighty Mouse, but a core motion for this, right, slipping to the front foot, okay? Now, if I really slip to the front foot, boom, I'm here, I'm on the ball of this foot, I'm on the heel of this foot, right? And I cross the line. If this was my opponent's head right here, I'm going to get here, bring my shoulder, my hand is in a position to cover the line, and now when I leap out of it, my head is going to end on the other side of that line here, okay? Now, one thing that he's not telling her, because they want to stay in this on the ball of your foot motion, right, is that you want to plant here. Right? It's so much easier to do this motion if you plant yourself. And then also you want to plant yourself on the way back, okay? Plant, pendulum, plant, okay? And now you're in this position where you're ready to go back to the front foot. Already, maybe you beat your opponent to the next position, right? Because you know where your head and your weight are supposed to be. You can catch your weight much better. Okay, well, let's watch a little bit more of the video. Ooh. And then, okay. See, he's telling her now, right? And notice the motion. He's really trying to lay his weight into the front foot. But again, when he coaches and stuff, he doesn't really get his weight into the heel either. And this is, the weight getting into the heel is a core idea, especially for learning this motion, let alone executing it, hundreds of times during the course of a fight, right? But trying to really teach her to really spring and throw her weight onto that foot rather than slipping and keeping her weight on that foot. She's trying to keep all the weight on the heel or on the balls of the foot, right? You can see that there's not a lot of stability at the end. But overall, I don't know how long she's been practicing this or how long she's been a student or whatever, but it looks like she's going to have most of the major mechanics at the end of the lesson anyway. So we'll move on to a little piece here. So teaching her the jump, right? Now, I don't know why it's so, it's so exaggerated because in this position, what he's teaching her now, there are kind of a lot of different things that you can do with that pendulum motion, okay? So one of them, right, was that initial, right, whack, cross that puts you into the position, right? And then you have the bigger jump, right? And you'll throw a punch literally here, in the middle of your air, right? So that you can control your opponent. Say you feinted them real hard, right? And they took a huge step up, and now you want to feint them before you find yourself on the ground, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, wow. And now you want to control that space, but you don't want to commit your body mechanics to an attack, right? You don't want to commit, so you just want to feint him, so now you can find yourself in the perfect position, boom, ha, to throw a right hand, okay? But you can also, 1, 2, and now you're going to feint, and then come down with a block, right? So you can do multiple things during the course of this pendulum step because your hands are not tied to the weight transition, right? So much of the core motion, getting your weight here and here, are the same as doing any of these punches, right? As any of these motions, any of these pendulums. And, well, let's see, what do you want to say? Anyway, so much of them overlap that you have so many opportunities to do different things. And that's like one of the ideas with the pendulum step as well. And this boxing lesson is that there are so many different things to do with this motion, right? If you want to learn them, I have a shadowboxing tutorial where I teach you all the mechanics of all the punches of the pendulum step. I teach you the mechanics of placing your feet where you want to be, all that stuff in the shadowboxing series. Link in the description if you want to learn how to shadowbox and perform any of those motions, orthodox or southpaw. It doesn't matter. It'll teach you guys all the correct ways to understand your body, okay? Now, the first step in boxing, real quick, is to get good at controlling your body, okay? That's the first step, right? That's what everyone spends so much time learning. And then you want to get good when you actually start boxing, right? That's the striking portion, okay? And then the actual boxing part is learning to control your opponent's body, okay? Now, these two ideas are very, very, very important, and they're completely linked, okay? Because if you don't understand the mechanics of your body, how can you learn to control the mechanics of your opponents, right? So check out the boxing course. It's about striking. It says shadow boxing, but it's very, very striking based. It will teach you how to develop speed and power, and all through shadow boxing. No heavy bag, no other stuff. All these drills to help you learn to shadow box, core pieces of information, of technique, and where to apply them. And it's a really, really interesting course. You'll learn a lot, I promise. And there are promo codes still available up until, I think it's May 8th. Anyway, check it out. And if you would like to learn my system of pendulum boxing, check out my pendulum boxing series, my black belt boxing series, to teach you kind of my style and my theory of pendulum boxing, and really learning how to increase your speed, your power, your rhythm, really being able to put on a pace, and learning to chain your weight transitions together in meaningful and impactful ways for the fight, in very common and very reproducible ways to reinforce the ideas that you're going to be seeing in the ring. So check them out. They're a great series. Both of them are excellent, excellent boxing series. So when she comes down, she's not actually in one of these two positions, right? Even though her weight is more centered on the back foot, right? Her head is tilting toward the back, not toward the front. So she should be in position 2, right? But notice her heels are not on the ground. Again, the Russian boxing style, trying to keep it kind of neutral, right? In the middle of their line, so that they always have access to either position 1 or position 2, but without committing, right? And again, that's a big, big difference between my personal boxing theory, because you still have to find a way to get into a position to attack, right? So notice the jab always starts with that wide step and that leaping thing, right? Let's see one more of these little attacks here. Boom, boom, boom. And not really choosing a position, even though the weight is definitely defined on the back half, right? Anyway, we're going to take a look at the boxing series, or the video that I did with Mighty Mouse. Now, we didn't actually talk, but for like 1 minute before this. So I thought we were going to get some prep time so I could teach him some mechanics and stuff. So this is all the time that I got with him. But I teach him here, I'm teaching him, number 1, the first step is going to be getting your weight to the front foot, okay? And I say it's a similar motion to a slip because I don't want to define the places in which you're going to use the leaping left hook, jab, cross, or block, or a feint, right? I don't want to define that for you. I just want you to know that all those are available from the front foot, okay? So it's not important what you do, right? It's understanding why you're going to do it and, all those things that are available. So the front foot, okay? Number 2, bringing your shoulder forward, okay? That was another thing that was stopping his student from getting the weight in the beginning and learning the motion and having to go through that big, wide, arcing, weird, not weird, right? But I want to say straight up, if I had to fight that lady, she'd probably catch me with that shit a bunch of times, man. It's pretty sharp. I'm not saying anything against it. And they practice with that pendulum motion, then it's going to be hard to see coming, right? If they're in their groove, right? You're not going to be able to differentiate this motion, right, from that, right? And they're going to be, anyway, you know what I mean? But it comes from that motion, right, of having your active guard. You can hide your punches or hide your pendulum on your line simply by having an active guard. And that's one of those things that they look to do, right? And they have, he teaches her a little bit later to have this lead hand out here. So then you can boom, boom, right? And keep that rhythm and then use that rhythm to turn into a, that leaping left cross or whatever. So bring your weight, cross your head over the line, right? Bring your shoulder to the line, get the weight in the heel, okay? Now this part's super important. And I make sure to tell him because your leaping pendulum motion is going to start from the heel, okay? You get here. If you're going to take a long jump, the first place you're going to jump from is from your heel, okay? You're going to really jump, right? Get that heel down and jump up, right? So in order to do that, in order to get your weight to that position off this line, you need to bring your weight with you, okay? This is something I've been teaching on Patreon for a while. It's one of the important ideas of changing positions, okay? So when I say changing positions, that means that you're going to be making sure that you bring your shoulder with you. You're going to be guarding the line, not with your left hand, but with your right hand, okay? Very important idea. Bringing your shoulder forward so that you have the opportunity to bring your weight, to catch your weight, just like you would with your left hand, right? You'll catch your opponent or intercept his attack. If he enters your line with your left hand, you want to be able to intercept his attack, boom, with the right hand, right? Boom, catch him with the shot. But it's important if you're going to do that to be able to get your shoulder and get your weight to the line, okay? Now, the next part, allowing your hips to turn, okay? A lot of times, this just comes down to someone not getting their heel up. If they don't bring their heel up when they try to get to this position, they'll just kind of bend, right? Doesn't allow them to sink their weight. And usually, that'll be enough in your normal active guard, your non-punching attempts to cross the line to get your weight with you, okay? Now, obviously, if you're going to actually throw a punch, you're going to be using and moving your weight with your heel as you push off to, incite your weight transition as well. It's not going to be as simple as a slipping motion. You'll actually have to put some gusto in it. I think that's it. But, anyway, what am I talking about? Anyway, so we're going to be taking a look at the next part, okay, of my boxing lesson. And I think, so again, I didn't really get to talk to him at all before we tried and before we did this. He just gave the camera to somebody. It was pretty cool. I just gave the camera, hey, record. And then bam, we made a video. And then he was busy. So I gave him, I think, like a 10-minute boxing lesson after, and was showing him a couple things. He actually has a lot of good habits on average. So right here is where I'm telling him that you want to get that weight in the heel. Now, he's crossed the line here, and I should have told him to relax his shoulder a little bit, relax. He's already in a safe place, and he can guard the line with his right hand here. That would have allowed him to have a little bit more balance, which is going to allow him to have a little bit better of an easier time throwing his left hand after. But here, showing that you're going to start that leap with your front foot on the heel here. Okay, so as I get the front foot, boom. And now you're going to catch yourself on the back heel, okay? And you get your weight. See how I'm making a line here? This gets me in the perfect position to throw my next punch, okay? And again, this is going to be more pendulum boxing. So you're going to be kind of trying to chain weight transitions together. So you're going to be breaking some of the rules for positioning in favor of momentum and stuff, because as I demonstrate and I tell him here that this motion, you're going to be using it, let's see here, if I'm slipping a punch, right, and I'm moving away from you, and I want to get away, if I'm on the front foot and you throw a 1-2, boom, you just threw your 1-2 here, and now I'm here. That 2 just came here. Now is my opportunity to re-enter the line and hit you, right? Or maybe I want to pendulum off, right? I want to leave the line. So what happens is you can shoot that 1-2, and now they're like, they're on the back foot, but now you can't hit them, right? So how do you cover that ground? 1-2, pendulum, right? And now, if you're Sergey Kovalev, right, it's boom, bop, right? And you're hitting him with a 1-2-1 and then coming in with a right hand after. If you're Gennady Golovkin, it's 1-2, control into a right hand, right? And he's looking to land the big right hand. Kovalev's looking to land the left cross. Different fighters have different things that they're looking to achieve with the pendulum step, right? It's where the real art in boxing starts, not just with your straight 1, 2, 3 punches, right? Hoo, 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 right? But anyway, showing him that you're going to use this, and you can use it in many, many different places, right? Again, the pendulum step is like the base, the building block for all real boxing, okay? None of that stuff where you're just jumping onto the line with a jab and then playing rock'em sock'em robots, right? You're looking to intercept your opponent's line with a pendulum step of some sorts, a pendulum move of some sort, so that you can get into a position to attack your opponent and out of that position as quickly as possible, right? And that's what fundamentally what chaining two weight transitions together means, right? Because you're going to enter a space, make an attack, and leave, right? You're going to try to find the way to do that the most succinct way possible. Check out my Vimeo package. So anyway, and here he's going to do it 1, 2. So then he throws the 2, and now he's going to pendulum forward, pinning me in this position, allowing him to throw the right hand, right, while occupying my guard, right? Now, that's going to be one of the tricks with this left hand. You use it to keep your opponent there, right? You want them to attack you, or you want them to defend that left hand, but you want to be changing positions, right, and moving forward. So you use the pendulum step to close the distance. You use the left hand to occupy their guard, and they think they have to respect it. If they don't, you can still hit them with a really good cross. And then you can just hit them with the right hand after, right? So let's see. What do I tell him here? So that one was actually pretty good. Boom. Brings his shoulder to the line perfectly. He started to get much more comfortable into the technique. His left hand is in position if he wanted it, that he could control the line, or he could bring it up to block, so he's in perfect position. And then he's looking to leap with that left hand and then put himself in a position to throw the right. Really good technique there. Really good motion. And now I'm telling him here to catch his weight on the right foot here, because if you start to touch down with your left, you're going to break your rhythm, and then you're going to have to get going again with the pendulum, right? So you want to start on that heel so you can catch your weight and really roll into it too. So I'm doing my little demo there. And you guys can go watch the video. I'll have a link in the description. But it's on Mighty Mouse's channel. Also, Teo's, his fight was Theo. T. I don't know if he wants to. Theo. His fight is on there. He fought a guy on there. We're going to be going to do another fight in a couple weeks. So here, I am telling him that you want to, when you change positions, you pendulum back and you throw the left hand. You really want to make sure you get the weight on the heel when you shoot back here, right? Again, very important. And you're not going to be stopping your weight with the left foot either. You're going to be kind of trying to chain all these motions together, right? As you're going here, boom, boom, and you go heel and heel, right? And you kind of allow yourself to move to the next position. Boom, boom, right? And you don't have to block your weight. You get here, beta punch. Get here, beta punch. Get here, make your attack, right? So when you get here, cross the line, cross the line, cross the line, right? You're going to be chaining 1, 2, 3, 3 weight transitions together in the hopes of feinting drawing attacks, and then making your own final pendulum attack too. And each time, your weight's going to be transferring again through your heels. Boom. Now let's see. Okay, and here is where I'm going to be teaching him that you can do multiple things with this punch, right? He was throwing a left hook here, and then I was teaching him you can throw it as a straight punch, right? And just as a way to close the line off. Let's see, watch him throw it. And that's where we're talking about it. Using it to close the distance or control the space. And then showing him that you can block pull counters by using a block instead. Now, the reason that this is an important idea, is he going to do the drill? Okay. So I wanted him to pendulum at the same time that he blocks, right? So when I throw my right hand, he wants to pendulum into it, right? Catch it on his arm. He needed to have his glove up a little bit here, right? As you're trying to perform a block, a basically pendulum catch and counter, right? And again, it's very important to know, and it's very important to learn this move, okay? By getting your weight to the front foot first, because if you always have to rely on this motion, right, to get your pendulum off, right, this will be the only one that you can perform, right? So it's very important to understand mechanically you want to start here, and you're going to be penduluming from the heel, right? So you don't have to rely on this motion, right? Even though you can get someone with a real good shot, right? Boom, pendulum cross, back into a pendulum right hand. Even though you can do that, it's important to understand all the different ways that you can pendulum, because your opponent doesn't have just one way to react, right? So if they want to throw a right-hand counter, right, a pull counter, boom, boom. It's important that you're able to pendulum forward, right, with proper body mechanics, with all the rest of your body to get into a position to catch that punch and counter, right? And again, so in essence, fundamentally, the camp teaches very, very similar things and very similar theories, and that guy understands a lot about boxing, and it is a really, really interesting way to learn boxing through that kind of pendulum. And granted, I want to make sure also, I don't know everything about their boxing system. I don't know how long he's been training or coaching that particular student. I don't know how long it'll take him to teach someone who's green that style, right? I don't know. I imagine it takes a long time. But then again, they do have a lot of really, really talented fighters coming out of that area, right, where they teach pendulum boxing, starting from a young, like, amateur age, right? Anyway, if you want to learn my system, starting from scratch, just shadow boxing, I assume, man, I think if you train every day, in just 2 months, you could be having technique, really, really solid and comprehensible technique to perform all of those techniques. Really, really simple stuff. So yeah, check it out. Check it out. Anyway, I think I went over everything. Let's see. Yeah. And then let's take a look here. So yeah, when again, the crossing the line, right? Because it's one front foot, back foot, and then front foot, right? And in order to get this motion here, boom, you want to end this one. Notice there's no transfer through the heels here, no transfer through the heel there. And catching her weight on the balls of the front foot here, make it very difficult to transfer her weight into that right hand too. So stealing a lot of her power. And granted, I want to say that at the end of the pendulum motion, when you're learning it, it may look a little more similar to his style. If you're trying to do it real quick with a lot of shortcuts, like say you know how quick your opponent is, and you only need this split second to move into this position, you might shortcut it enough. But if you learn it through your heels at first, you're going to learn it much, much, much quicker. You're going to learn it much, much more succinctly, and you'll understand when you're actually supposed to be making shortcuts in your technique too. You'll figure out when you want to be making shortcuts, how to make the shortcuts correctly. But again, that's going to be at like the highest level where you're shortcutting your positions and stuff. But yeah, other than that, it looked like his student learned in about 5 minutes what she was supposed to learn. And that's like one of the most important ideas about the boxing lesson, is that they learned something that was, correct, or that they could do the maneuvers, right? Because mechanically, he's putting her on the right track, right? But it is really difficult. How do you learn to get a pendulum leaping, catching, right? Pendulum right hand, right? Or control into a roll into a right hand? Or how do you learn the other techniques associated with the pendulum step if you have to learn them all with the corkscrew jab, right? And granted, that's part of the style, right? Control, right? Flap, flap, right? And you sink it in, ching, ching. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, thanks, guys.